Hello, my name's Rob and welcome to Swift Slots. Now most days I walk into town to get my shopping and I always walk past this canal. Today is slightly different though. Today I've spotted something in this canal that I want and I think you'll be interested in. So let's go fishing. It's a car's Volkswagen van. Now you may see a load of mess. I see a slot car. Back to the workshop. Now I know that you guys are going to think that sub intro was complete fiction and I set it up. I absolutely didn't, and it gets stranger. So the way that works is that along that canal there are a load of cats that belong to the houses along the edge of the canal, and they're all really friendly, and often we walk along and they're there and I stroke them. Well, on that particular day the cat was in the grass looking at the ducklings that had just been born, presumably wanting to eat them. So I stopped and I bent down and I stroked the cat. So I had a moment to just look in the water. So as I stroked the cat, I looked in the canal and there it was, just sat there. Now as you can see, I have a range of cars. These are all Carrera ones. So I knew exactly what I was looking at when I peered into the water and saw this aqua blue van with a pair of eyes staring back at me. And I thought, I'm coming back for that. That's awesome. So I went home, asked my mate Kevin, thank you Kevin, for his fishing net, and he lent it to me, and that's where you saw fishing it out. Now, as I say, it gets stranger because less than 24 hours before I found this van in the canal, my brother was telling me that I should open up a second YouTube channel where you dig out something out the ground and restore it back to basically new. And I said to him, no, I'm not going to do that because everybody knows they're fake. And here we are, 24 hours later, I'm effectively doing exactly that. But this isn't fake. How it panned out was 100% real, honestly. So let me get you on my table and I'll show you what my plans are for this little van. Okay, so here is the poor, unfortunate little van. Now this turns out to be a van called Fillmore from the Disney film Cars. Now this particular toy is actually from McDonald's from 2006. So it's 20 years old at this point. Now how it came to be in the canal, I have absolutely no idea. The mind boggles. It definitely hadn't been there for very long because it was literally sat on top of the weeds, and I walk that canal just about every day and I look in the canal for fish and so on, and this definitely wasn't there. So I guess somebody has been kicking it down the street because it's got a big dent in it here. Looks like someone's tried to melt it and so on, probably kicking it down the street, trying to light it with a cigarette lighter or something, I don't know, and then got bored and just booted it into the canal or something. But a bit strange. It's supposed to have stickers all the way down the side and on the back window and the back there, and a big sticker down there, but that's long since gone and there's absolutely no sign of that sticker at all. I don't think it would have washed off in the canal because it say I just hadn't been there that long. And you can see it's actually in not bad nick. I had to try and drill that front screw out because it just wasn't going to come out. So I ended up stressing the plastic. That's why I used the the blowtorch, just to sort of take away the stress lines of the chassis. But you know, it's all there now. I fully intend to keep this patina. I don't want to take away, I don't want to turn it into something that it's not. It was a canal find car, and it's going to stay like that, but we will be giving it a coat of lacquer at the end to sort of seal in all the damage and so on, and all the little marks and the dirt that's left there now. I think we're going to keep that. I mean, this thing's been through a lot. It's going to wear its battle scars, but it is going to get a nice shiny new chassis. Now, I had thought about putting a nice posh brass chassis in this, but to be honest with you, the chassis has survived just as well as the body, and I think the chassis probably deserves, as well as the internal chassis, probably deserve to stay with the car. Now, I think we will get rid of the wheels though. One interesting thing is actually a pull back and go car, and it does still basically work. It hasn't really got enough power to push itself, but if I wind it back to the clicker, now watch, look, hang on, there you go. So it does actually work. So yeah, it deserves to be resurrected. And I'm going to resurrect it with this Carrera car. Now, I picked this up from a car boot sale for £1. It was literally £1. It is missing its braids. It does work. It has got all the running gear on it. Now, I had thought of literally just chopping out the chassis and making a direct transplant. And I've done all the measurements, and I can get this chassis to simply cut down and fit straight into that body with some wheel reduction. But like I say, I think that this chassis has done so well to stay on this car and survive the canal and everything else that life's thrown at it for the past 20 years that I think we ought to keep the chassis as well. I have got new screws in this body because the old ones, the back screw came out, but the front one, well, it was just completely trashed. So as we can see, it's actually got a sub chassis in there. Now, it'd be quite nice to keep that as well, really, because, well, why not? So I think if we're going to keep the sub chassis, we may as well keep the main chassis, and there's a little pull back and go system. As you can see, it's all kind of there. Actually, what's that? There's a bit of, looks like a bit of canal still survives in it. Maybe not, whatever, it's gone. So that's the chassis, so we can basically use that. And then this is the internals of this brand new, or not brand new, it's a lot newer than the van inside this Carrera car here. So if I just whip those screws out, you can see what's going on inside of here. I junked the body because I don't want that. It's a Spider-Man body, I believe, or Batman or something, I don't know. But there we are. So we've got a nice little motor, modest gearing, and it'll all work. And I say I could, in theory, chop the chassis down, do a bit of a wheel reduction, and get it in the body. But I'd have to adjust the wheelbase as well because the wheelbase is a little bit long. So I think I'd like to keep that chassis. But I thought I'd keep these wheels. Now, they're not strictly the right wheels, obviously, but I think we could give Fillmore a nice kind of modern lowrider look to him, and I think that would look pretty cool. So yeah, I think after all the trauma that this car has been through, I think we could probably give her a little bit of an upgrade with some blingy wheels and keep her original chassis, or his original chassis. I think that'll be pretty cool. And we'll also pop some lights in it as well. I think just a little bit of a finishing touch. So with that outlined, let's go to the workbench, see what we can do with this poor little van. So on the face of it, it does seem that I'm trashing a perfectly good car for an absolutely bad car. I get that, but this car's got a bit of a story, and it's quite close to my heart, and it's earned a place in my heart by finding it in the canal. This car was bought for £1 at a car boot sale, and it was bought deliberately to use as spares for any project that I foresaw. So I will be using the running gear from this car, but I'll also keep the chassis because there's nothing wrong with this chassis. So I don't have a need for the Goblin body that was on it. But if any of you guys want the Goblin body, you're absolutely free to have it for nothing. Make any purchase on my website. Tell me that you want the body from this car and you can have it for nothing. That's fine. I'll never need the body. But the parts for this chassis and the chassis will get used eventually. Parts obviously in this van. So how to go about getting my bus working again? Well, I think what we'll do is we'll start, oddly enough, on the front end. So here we have the axle, and I've discovered that the standard tube that I use fits these axles as well. So that's a pretty good start. And I've had a bit of a poke around, and I think I need to take all this plastic away right up till that recess just there, so that wheel fits right inside, and if it's a little bit wide at that point, I think I'll take it away from the body, because there's plenty of meat in that body once we get the wheel right up to that recess. So what we'll do, we'll get the Dremel out now, and we'll start hacking around this wheel arch, and we'll bond this axle into the groove that's already in the chassis using this brass tube. Okay, so that's the front axle all now fitted into place. As you can see, the body is nice and level with the setup plate, and the front wheels are nice and free to turn. And if we look at the chassis itself, we can see that the card body filler has perfectly encapsulated that front axle, and we're ready to move on to the front guide. Now, we've got a problem with the front guide because there's a great big gap between the bottom of the chassis and the bottom of the guide, as you can see here. And it's even worse because that little lump that you can see at the front isn't actually part of the chassis really, it's just a reinforcer. So we've got a big gap to make up. So the way I intend to do it is use this very long screw and use this brass bar, and we're going to have to turn it on the lathe. I didn't want to do too much lathe work on this vehicle, but I don't get a lot of choice because I've got to get this post all the way down to the bottom, and I've got to come all the way up this post. But I don't want too much material there for too much weight. But obviously, so we're going to use this really long screw, and we're going to use most of this bar. I'm going to rebate the top half so it's quite slim, because I need it to get right up tight against this body mount, because I need that front end real estate. And just don't want to mount up a load of plastic card, because I don't want to intrude into that body mounting hole either. So we need to chomp away a little bit of this reinforcing and then insert a step, and then I'm going to wrap it around with cotton, and I'm going to flood the cotton with super glue so it kind of binds the top of the brass tube to this vertical post, and that'll make an extremely solid mount. Because obviously coming down 5mm from the bottom of the chassis without much real estate to mount your fixing to, you're not really going to get a lot of strength. So by wrapping it in cotton up the top, flooding the cotton with super glue, it'll completely lock it solid. So let's hit the lathe and turn this bar into a guide mount. So that's the guide all fitted to the chassis and working extremely well. And if we do my little bristle test on the guide, you can see that it's super smooth, super free to move, and there's absolutely no sideways rock in that guide whatsoever. We've got a really deep post running up through the chassis and that nice screw nipped at the top there, and you've got a nice bit of adjustable compensation as well, which is very free to move. So that is the guide completely done. Now I need to turn my attentions to the back of the car. Now, in all honesty, I don't know how I'm going to do this, so I'm just going to have to get my tools out and just get stuck in and feel it out as I go. So after a little bit of brutal plastic surgery on the chassis, the inner chassis and the inside of the body wheel arches, I think I've now got clearance for both of my rear wheels. So if that one goes on there and the body slips onto there, you can now see that there is indeed enough wheel room to get the wheel in, and the same on the other side. So yes, I think we can work with this now. So now we got the back wheels fitting into these clearanced rear arches. I think we now think about getting the wheels onto the axle and the gear clearing that rear body post and fitting some sort of bearings into this chassis. Right, so getting to this stage was exactly as fiddly as I thought that it would be. So as you can see here, I've taken quite a lot of that frame away so that I can get the rear pod to fit. And talking of the rear pod, here it is. As we can see, we've got brass bars soldered to the sides of the motor because I figured that was just going to be the easiest way to do it. And if we put power to the actual pod, we now get a very successful running pod effectively. I also made this lead weight, which is 21 grams in weight. Now I didn't bother filming this because, as you can see, it's a little bit of a fiddly fold and bend and file job, but that fits absolutely perfectly inside the chassis, just like that. And then our pod fits in there like that. Now the motor is at a bit of a strange angle. That's because I didn't want anything really sticking out the bottom of the car, and as you can see, it doesn't. I'm trying to keep as much of this detail as physically possible just because it looks nice. And then once that's all together, we've then got that inner piece that I really wanted to keep, and that simply clips in over the top just like that and locks it all in place. So I am going to actually have to glue this motor in, and it's not going to be the most serviceable thing in the world, but honestly, I'm probably never going to run this after this video, and it just works. I'm happy with that. And then when the whole body goes on, it all fits exactly like that, all fits in nicely, and we're pretty much ready to go. So let's just button up this body now, and then we can go and hit the track. There we are. What a fantastically fun little build this was. Now I get it, you're not going to believe that I found this in a canal, and you're also not going to believe that my brother told me to start a second channel digging up stuff out the ground and restoring it, and those two things coming together inside 24 hours resulting in this build. But it just goes to prove that life really is stranger than fiction. So how does this van run? Is it fast? Yes, it actually is pretty fast. Now, does it handle well? Well, it did. There was a small lump on the rear tyre, only a very small one, and it was just upsetting the handling just a little bit. As you got on it really hard, it would start to vibrate a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. So I track sanded the tyres just a hair, just to take off that little bump to make it nice and smooth. And of course, that increased the grip. Now, before I track sanded the back tyres, it did actually handle really well. It was a bit slidey, but it was a hell of a job to get it to roll over. It basically wouldn't, because it was so slidey. It just kept on going forwards, and it was great fun. But that little bit of a track sand gave it that little bit more grip, and then she became quite grippy and quite prone to tipping over. But if you drive it carefully, you can see in the video, she goes really well. And I must say, I don't think that I've driven a car since maybe the banana car or the tank with a smile on my face bigger than driving this little fun little van. It's just an enormous amount of fun. I know there's lots of serious videos out there on slot cars. This isn't one of those, clearly, but this is what it's all about. Having fun, seeing an opportunity and making something fun that when you drive it, there's a smile on your face. It's almost more important to have a smile on your face whilst playing with these toy cars than it is to actually get a fast track time. And I must say, I got as much fun out of this car as I do getting a sub 50-second lap with a proper racing car. Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, maybe you'll subscribe. And if you could hit the little bell button, that would be awesome. So until the next time, thank you very much.